Warning: this video contains spoilers for Andromeda Chapters 2 and 3, as well as partial spoilers for New Verhack, also known as Verhack Platform 8. If you have not explored the Andromeda Chapter 3 update or New Verhack, we recommend to not watch this video yet.
Mona, Ines, you're back. Yes, let's get to the bridge. We need to leave Earth. Get some distance from this system, about 200 AU from the sun. Aye. We have reached 200 AU from the sun. Next orders? I'm opening a black hole to the present timeline. It's not safe here. Guide our ship into the black hole. Aye. So what did you and Ines find? What we found forever changes what we knew about Verhack and Sela. We now know the reason as to why our Verhack as well as the other platforms were destroyed. It is rather disturbing.
Oh yeah, while you two were gone, a transmission was received from Platform 8. I recorded and decoded the transmission, and I think you need to see this.
Show me. What is that? I see. This confirms my findings. What findings? It is time for a ship-wide meeting. The crew needs to be aware of this. Krail, prepare me a data tablet. This whole meeting needs to be recorded on it. And it must be protected by encrypted code.
Got.
Attention all crew members. This is an emergency meeting. Please come to the bridge immediately.
Hello, my name is Steven VR, also known as Mona the Goddess of Light, leader of the Andromeda Project. In this video, I will explain the lore of Andromeda Chapters 2 and 3, as well as explaining and showing the new secrets that were added in these updates to Andromeda. On July 26, 2022, MakenCat returned to VR Chat and released a new version of Verhack, known as Verhack Platform 8. In response to this, Andromeda has been updated and Chapter 3 has been added. MakenCat gave me permission to keep the Andromeda project going and keep the world public. Me and Monomori coordinated and helped with MakenCat with the English translation of New Verhack. We also helped MakenCat test his world and look for bugs. Monomori, Rose Silvermoon, and Pillow Ghost helped with the English voice lines of the English version of New Verhack. Andromeda's story is not over, as I am going to continue it alongside of the New Verhack Platform 8 lore. This is why I wrote Chapter 3, and I am already planning Chapter 4. This world will continue to be updated, as I will be continuing to improve the world and add new features. At the time of this video, both the Russian and English versions of New Verhack are now public. I will first explain and talk about the lore of Chapter 2. We will start with talking about Krail, the laboratory technician and ship communications officer of Andromeda. Krail was an android and former living being, an engineer who worked on artificial intelligence research for the group in its infancy that eventually became Verhack. Krail retains no memories of their former life before being implanted into their current artificial body, only knowing what they know from the scarce fragments of data left behind after the incident. They still find excitement and purpose while dealing with technology and machinery, but struggle to utilize this aboard the Andromeda that doesn't rely on such systems, opting to tinker with whatever they can get their hands on. They have a handle on Earth's internet culture and media from the connection their makeshift vessel had to the Earth's internet during the time it was in range, and finds humor in referencing such things, as well as having a basic, somewhat flawed, understanding of social interactions from this connection. Chapter 2 Storyline. Starting centuries ago, originating from an, at the time, unknown civilization, a research team inhabited a station in space in order to research and develop artificial intelligence in a sterile and, more importantly, unrestricted environment. Without the restrictions of any former government or agency, they conducted research on the station in many different ways. One of these development paths included digitizing and uploading a living person's consciousness into artificial bodies. This practice was considered morally taboo to the person's home civilization, and thus the need for secrecy. During the course of the research, a test subject was required. Now, having the need of all their current staff, they abducted a member of a separate team to use as a subject. The project was in its final stages when the rebel research team was caught, which led to conflict aboard the station. The situation quickly grew violent, and in the course of the conflict, all members of the station were forced to abandon the station entirely. 350 years later, the crumbling remains of the long since abandoned station continued to drift through space undisturbed. However, the few remaining systems that functioned were starting to long outlive their operations' lifetime and were beginning to malfunction. A power surge occurred when the final life support system went offline, and in doing so, inadvertently triggered the startup of an artificial body left on board by the long since forgotten peoples. The artificial body, carrying the mind of the unfortunate researcher used as a subject, awoke to a station completely derelict and in severe disrepair. Unfortunately, the mind's memories were considered unnecessary by the people who transferred the researcher's mind and were disposed of in the digitization process. However, as luck would have it, the basic rudimentary skills they possessed were deemed valuable enough to keep. So, taking in the situation quickly, the automaton took to work salvaging systems, components, and sources of power while removing parts that were discharging power or malfunctioning. In doing so, they were able to stabilize a small portion of the station long enough to keep it from complete destruction for a time. Many, many years passed in isolation, drifting in this small construct in space, reviewing archived logs and research records, device manuals and textbooks on engineering that littered the debris and held together enough to salvage. Eventually, after an imperceptibly long amount of time, a signal was received, weak and incredibly basic. The signal was no more than noise, but over time, more signals would be intercepted, very slowly, growing stronger and more complex. Eventually, it was learned that the signals were coming from a planet, far closest to the nearest solar entity, a planet dimming themselves as Earth. Communication wasn't possible for a stretch of time, as Earth had yet to be able to intercept signals such as those that could be broadcasted by the station. Eventually, it was learned that the people of Earth not only didn't have the technology to intercept and rescue the drifting station at its current position, later learned to be in the vicinity of a planet fifth from the star designated as Jupiter and current velocity, but they likely wouldn't have the technology for a long time from what was gathered by their geopolitical situation. So, over years, the automaton learned what it could, redeveloping its consciousness and making new memories as it interacted with Earth's internet, even designating itself a name. Krail Carden was given to it by one fairly friendly person on said internet. Many more years passed and more systems started to fail as they reached their operational limits, eventually losing contact with Earth altogether. Over the next decade, Krail would drift along the remains of the station as it tore itself apart from radiation and the occasional debris impact. In a final struggle to do something, anything, Krail fashioned together a beacon that would broadcast a distress signal and hooked it up to the last remaining power cell in Krail's body, effectively overcharging it. It let out a powerful signal that lasted only around 10 seconds before falling silent. However, this signal may have even reached the unexpected. Few years later, as Andromeda was within range of the Milky Way galaxy, Matsuragi was monitoring communications on the bridge when a distress signal was intercepted. Upon relaying the distress information to Mona, she suggests investigating the source, to which Mona agrees and gives the order to move towards the signal origin. Upon arriving outside the orbital limits of Jupiter and drifting through the void of space, they are met with a wreckage of a derelict station. Little remains as parts drift away and scatter, as well as having no entrance. Opting to warp herself inside, she is met with the inactive frame of an automaton, clutching a makeshift device that was jerry-rigged to its power source. No doubt the origin of the distress signal. Deciding to recover the automaton and what small intact equipment was around, she warped them directly to the medbay aboard the Andromeda. Within the medbay, they run scans on the rundown frame of the automaton, discovering data to its self-designation as Krail and gathering a basic idea of how to recover and repair its systems. Fashioning a swift converter out of the parts recovered from the station, they soon had a crude device to convert the Andromeda's light power source to the electrical current needed to restore to Krail's core, as well as mending and fixing the rundown and battered frame of Krail's body into presentable and working condition. After a week of trial and error, they managed to restore enough power to Krail's core to restart its systems. The lore of Chapter 3. We will start with talking about NS. NS was originally a mystical kitsune, but took the form of a human as to not scare humans. When she woke up, the only words she could remember was, "Humans are afraid of us mystical creatures." She explored a nearby village to which she awoke. She slowly approached the local villagers as they were startled by her having a tail and ears to that of a fox. They slowly backed away to keep their distance. Ines slowly greeted the villagers but did not want to startle them that they were afraid of her. She was greeted by a young woman around age 37 and a man around age 32, and was offered some extra clothes because she really wasn't wearing anything. Ines noticed the townspeople were more startled because she was naked, not because of the fact that she had a tail and ears. Ines accepted the spare clothes and was greeted to the house of the couple. Ines was given food, shelter, and a place to sleep until she was healthy and was able to leave. But Ines grew attached and called the couple her adopted parents. The couple agreed that Ines could live at their home for 2 to 3 months so she could get to know the town there. Then one day, Ines heard the sound of machines near where she lived and saw people coming out with seemed like weapons surrounding her house. The couple was told that there is a non-human entity living in this location. Ines got scared and released a burst of ice wind as she slowly stepped out. She subdued all of the people that came out of the flying machines. All of the people in the town were afraid because unnatural ice came out of nowhere and subdued the agents. Ines looked around her, realizing that she had exposed her abilities. She looked around. Everyone was afraid of her. She felt heartbroken because she had gotten along with the people before that. All has changed during this moment. The agent in charge spoke to Ines, revealing to Ines that she was a danger to the village and that she needed to come lift them and leave the village. After a period of time and negotiations, Ines agreed to go with the agents but promised death upon them. Any of the village people were hurt. NS hugged her parents for the last time. NS was taken to Verhack Platform 12, an underground facility which had the necessities for humans to live if ever the end of the world was at stake. Verhack Platform 12 was similar to Verhack Platform 13. However, Platform 13 was an orbital platform, not an underground one. NS resided in Verhack Platform 12 for 5 years. She met a lot of people who came to the facility to check on her. She grew happy and trusted the people as they trusted her with anything they needed her for. NS was taught to build things from simple things. She took a liking to this and started to make some of her own things while being monitored. One day, NS accidentally made a bomb that blew up in her face, damaging the whole room, breaking the cameras watching her, and the doors that were sealing her in. Soldiers came in thinking that an attack had happened, only to find NS on the floor covered in black smoke, surprised that no harm was done to her. As time passed and more explosions happened every now and then, the people who checked on NS got used to her making things but failing in an explosion, but made sure she was still okay and told to be more careful when making stuff like that every time. NS lived a happy life in Verhack most of her time, until the incident that changed her life forever. The Chapter 3 storyline. One day, NS thought if it was possible that other Verhacks were out there, and if it was possible to go visit them and come back to her home. She got to doing creative thinking and went to obtain a Verhack coin, a tape recorder, a picture of Verhack's android, a watch, and a crystal which emitted a blue glow. She also used a tablet and some old copper wire to connect everything together. Once she put everything together with the crystal in the center of it, she checked the tablet they had to search spells. While doing so, everything started to shake and rumble all around her. At first it seemed like it was an earthquake, but she realized she had overdid it this time. Lightning from the crystal began to strike her, damaging her vocal cords and rendering her unable to speak at that moment. More lightning struck out around the area, and as the crystal shook more, the crystal broke and a black hole opened, pulling NS into a wormhole with the black hole closing behind her with no way of return. As unknown time passed while NS was still stuck inside the wormhole, she gathered materials and another crystal that were carried in with her to create another bomb to break out of the wormhole. NS was able to create a bomb, and upon detonating it, opened another black hole and exited the wormhole, not caring where it took her. This resulted in her being knocked unconscious. NS was thrown out of the wormhole into the orbit of Neptune. The cold of space places NS into cryostasis. The ribbon beacon that was tied to the back of her head auto-activates upon the detection of her cryostasis, sending out periodic distress signals as a last effort in hopes that someone will find her. To her luck, someone did. May 13th, 2758, Home Timeline. Andromeda arrives into the Sol system near Neptune. Faye places Andromeda into the orbit of Neptune. Upon running local scans of the area, a distress signal is intercepted. Upon running scans of the signal, they find that there is a life sign there. Mona gives order to bring the ship near the origin of the signal. Upon arriving at the signal's origin, Mona calls Matsuragi to the bridge where she alerts her to the current situation. Matsuragi heads for the hangar bay and boards one of the shuttles, leaving Andromeda to locate the source of the signal. Using the shuttle's radar, Matsuragi finds the source of the signal, NS's frozen body with the ribbon beacon on the back of her head still pulsing signals. Matsuragi brings NS on board the shuttle and returns to Andromeda. Back on board Andromeda in the medbay, Mona and Faye begin running scans on NS's body. The scans show that her body is intact and that they are able to revive her. Upon successfully reviving NS, she awakens confused as to what has happened and where she is. Mona and Faye explain to NS that she was found adrift in orbit around the planet Neptune in the Sol system, and that she was in cryostasis. NS tries to speak, but her vocal cords are still damaged. The result of this is that NS sounds more male than female. NS explains her situation to Mona and Faye. Mona realizes that Ines was adrift in space for years, perhaps a century, but is confused when Ines explains that she resided in Verhack, as Ines did not reside on the same platform that she did. This leads Mona to believe that there might have been multiple Verhacks. Mona and Faye explains to Ines where they are from, what happened to their Verhack, and the fact that they were once humans but now goddesses of light. They also explain to Ines that the ship she is on is called Andromeda and that it is their home, that they had built after their Verhack was destroyed. Mona shows Ines the observation deck. Now that Ines has a better understanding of her current situation, she asks Mona if they can go to Earth, that her home is there. Mona agrees. Mona and Faye bring Ines to the bridge of Andromeda. Faye takes control of the ship and sets course for Earth. Arriving at Earth, Ines looks out of the bridge window and is surprised to see how much Earth had changed since she last saw it. Local scans of the area do not show any nearby ships or stations. Ines tells Mona that her Verhack was located on Earth itself. Krell then suggests to run geographical scans on Earth. Mona agrees and gives Krell the command to run the scans. The scans reveal multiple underground facilities, only one of which showed activity and life signs. Ines tells Mona that her Verhack was known as Platform 12. Krell looks at the scan results and locates Platform 12, only to realize that it was destroyed just like Platform 7. The signal active platform found in the scan was determined to be Platform 8. In total, they located Platforms 2, 3, 7, 8, and 12. Mona realizes that something is clearly not right and determines that an investigation into Verhack Platform 8 was needed. She asks Krell if it was possible to teleport into Verhack Platform 8, at which point Krell generates coordinates to Platform 8 and sends them to the transporter room. Mona tells Ines to come with her. They both proceed into the transporter room portal into Verhack Platform 8. What Mona and Ines find is rather unexpected, forever changing what they knew about Verhack. A few hours later, Mona opens a portal, bringing Ines with her as they both return to Andromeda. Arriving at the bridge, Mona gives Faye the command to leave Earth. After leaving Earth, she opens a portal back to the present timeline and commands Faye to fly the ship through it. Arriving back in the present timeline, Faye places Andromeda in orbit around the sun. Krell then informs Mona that a transmission was received from Verhack Platform 8 while they were investigating it. Krell then shows Mona and Faye the decoded image that was received in the transmission. What Mona sees shocks her, confirming her findings in the investigation of Verhack Platform 8. Mona then decides that an emergency meeting with the crew of Andromeda was needed. She then calls all crew members to the bridge, ready to reveal her findings. At the meeting, Mona and Ines reveal that human civilization on Earth has been taken over and brainwashed by aliens known as the Rectangle Head Monsters. Some of the brainwashed humans were found to be praising the aliens. The Verhack facilities were being used to hold the humans captive in order to brainwash them and keep them from leaving the facilities. They were told they were on spacecraft on their way to Earth, when in fact they were on underground facilities being brainwashed. These facilities were purposely being destroyed one by one to kill the humans, meaning that the destruction of Verhack Platform 8 was intentional by Sela in an attempt to kill Mona and Faye. After the meeting, Mona deems the Sol system unsafe. Sometime after the Verhack Platform 8 investigation, Faye analyzes the data gathered from the investigation. She discovers the reasons as to why Reliptica's personality construct was corrupted and finds that a repair is possible. She finds that the limitations were placed on Reliptica's personality construct by the agents that created her. Mona and Faye remove these limitations and repair her personality construct. While Reliptica's personality construct is now repaired, it will take time before the effects of the operation will be seen.
Hello everybody, my name is Nepshade, and I'll be going over the secrets and stuff that have been added in Andromeda for chapter 2 and 3 update for this. This hasn't been done before, so it's being added in from both chapters to now. And it's just a little bit of an update to the previous video that was done. And I thank again Steven for giving me this part to do. Without any further ado, I'll get this part right over with. Aside from reviewing the chapter 1 refresher video, what's been added to chapter 2 and 3 is Reliptica, NS, Matsuragi, and Krail. Those NPCs in general have been updated and will spawn in separate locations, different every time, maybe sometimes the same, but those characters in specific will not always be in the same location as like Mona and Faye. Those characters will have like 3 possible locations that they will appear in. Of course, it's always random every time, but it could also be that they could appear in the same spot every time. Can't really confirm when the change is. There's also the transporter room, which has usually portals leading to either other worlds or so. But now that one has been updated with the crew quarters, and that can only be accessed with said via code. The code is required to even enter the quarters, and there is a specific way to kind of get this code. The code can be obtained from the Fae, which usually is within the area where you have the giant rock and whatnot. But the code can't be obtained from them, but you would also have to progress with like the dialogue first to even reach that part to have access to that. To activate the dialogue for the crew quarters first, you would have to go to the transport room and try to just click on the button where it's like says crew quarters, and it will request the code from you. Probably just enter random numbers to be sure, maybe, or just pretty much click on it once and then it should trigger some dialogue for Faye. But I would recommend to kind of interact with the usual dialogue that they have, or updated dialogue, and once you get to it and interact with the Faye should be updated and have the dialogue for accessing the crew quarters and helping you in getting the code to access that area. She will ask you to kind of help her find some books that Krail seems to have not returned to the library, and you're pretty much just helping them find said books and returning them to her. There's 7 books in total. There's 1 located in the biosphere, 1 located in the bar, 1 in the laboratory, 1 in the drawing room, 1 in the bridge, 1 in the hangar, and 1 in the gardens. Once you have located all the books, you pretty much would want to bring them all together to Faye, or just toss them there next to her. She will then thank you for returning these books that Krail owed her, or Krail forgot to bring back to the library, and pretty much gave you the code to while you need to access the crew quarters. She will tell you the code, so you might want to try to remember it, but it's not too difficult. Just maybe have like something to write the code down and you should be fine. Once you're in the crew quarters, one of the tablets that was access that Mona gave you will be in their bedroom in the crew quarters. Once you have access to the crew quarters, there can be an encrypted tablet found in like the meeting room in that area. Of course, for that, you also need a code to kind of decrypt that. But Steven will get to that eventually later, and will tell you how to encrypt that. The tablet to also Mona's homeworld will appear in Mona's bedroom in the crew quarters. However, if you go there first without doing the interactions with Mona, the tablet will not spawn. You will have to pretty much do the same process of making the tablet appear, and it should spawn in that area. Which then, once you have tablet and or done the specific necessary interactions first, then the tablet will spawn in her bedroom, and then you can use that to access her homeworld within the transporter room. There's also another small thing of hidden tablets. For those of you who were searching for those things, there's another hidden tablet found within the cargo area, and 2 hidden tablets floating in space. Those will be kind of the hard challenge ones to find. So good luck to any of you finding those. There will be also another encrypted tablet within the bridge, for those of you looking for that. For the encrypted tablet that you find in the bridge, or I think it's within the crew quarters, I'm not sure which one it was, the code for that will be found within the bridge on your right side within this SSTV signal. If you would like to get that code, you would have to decrypt that SSTV signal, which Steven will explain how to decrypt that code, but probably also give you the code if you just yank it out of it. But aside from that, thank you, Steven, for having me in this small part of the video again, and I'll be passing it back to them, but catch you guys later.
Hi, Steven VR here again. I'm here to explain the transmission on the bridge. If you have played Portal or Portal 2, you might recognize it. The transmission is that of a slow-scan television transmission, or known as SSTV. This transmission contains 12 images encoded in it. This transmission also contains both codes needed for the encrypted tablets. The first code can be found on the second image in the transmission, while the second code can be found in a voice at the end of the transmission. The transmission's total length is 30 minutes. To decode the transmission, you can use software known as MMSSTV, or by using the Robot36 app on Android. Both of these softwares are free to download and use. I used MMSSTV to both encode and decode the transmission. All of the images in the transmission use SSTV mode PD120. The code in the second image is in hex code. Converting the hex code to text outputs the code to the encrypted tablet in the bridge. The code said in the voice at the end of the transmission is also hex code. Converting the hex code to text outputs the code to the encrypted tablet in the meeting room in the crew quarters.
Access granted.
$34, $31, $35, $30, $38. Looks like everyone is here. You have all been called to the bridge because me and NS have completed our investigation into Verhack Platform 8. And we wish to reveal and discuss our findings with you all. What we found forever changes what we knew about Verhack and Sela. And we now know the reason why our Verhack, as well as the other platforms, were destroyed. It is rather disturbing. Human civilization on Earth has been taken over by aliens known as... the Rectangle Head Monsters. What?
What the
Nani?
Yes, as bizarre as it sounds, it is real. The Verhack facilities are being used to hold the humans captive in order to brainwash them and keep them from leaving the facilities. The humans are being brainwashed into thinking that they are on spaceships on their way to Earth, when in fact they are in underground facilities. The humans' mental capacities appear to be limited, meaning that the humans are unable to think as to how they got on the facilities in the first place, or question what the rectangle head monsters are. We also found that some of the humans were worshipping the aliens.
Everything the agents told me about Verhack were all lies.
I don't know what to say. It hurts.
Ooh, I know this one. When shapes attack!
Really? Krail?
So it was all lies, what they told us.
Did you learn anything about Sela, caretaker of Platform 13? We did. The destruction of Verhack Platform 13 was intentional by Sela. Sela purposefully tried to kill us. These facilities were purposely being destroyed one by one to kill the humans. This is ultimate betrayal by Sela. It hurts a lot to know that she tried to kill us.
Damn.
This hurts a lot.
Same. It hurts.
We have all the evidence recorded on this data tablet for you all to review. This concludes the meeting. One final note from this moment forward. The Sol system is now deemed unsafe. So what is the plan now, Mona? Soon we will begin searching for candidate systems to terraform a planet, to create new Earth, and to possibly restart human civilization.